couple of years that since many documents have been declassified, including in America and of course in England and in India also now, whatever happened to Subhash Chandra Bose at the end of Second World War, the possibilities can be boiled down to just three possibilities. There are three options on table, and there is no fourth option on table. So these three options are that A, that Subhash Chandra Bose died soon after the Japanese announcement of surrender in Second World War. He had aligned himself with the Axis forces, that's a known fact. And after the Japanese announced they got to surrender to the Allied forces on 15th of August 1945, 3 days afterwards, he reportedly died in a plane crash while he was flying to Tokyo. And this is the story in those days, India's Calcutta's number one English paper. The second story is the line, of course, I said there were three options of what happened to Subhash Bose. The second option is India's number one conspiracy theory. Just as you have theories about Kennedy, we have this conspiracy theory, and it is really big. In fact, if you talk to people in private, be they professors or somebody who works for intelligence, even people working in Congress party in private, they say this is gospel truth. God forbid this should be true, because you as an Indian, you will shudder to think what it says. It talks about all big people. I mean, there's a story that Subhash Chandra Bose never died in any plane crash. Actually, he escaped to Soviet Russia, where he was taken prisoner, and India, which was part of the Axis bloc in Second World War, suddenly turned pro-Russian. And so people have this conspiracy theory. It happened because Subhash Chandra Bose was captured by the Russians. They kept him alive, and Mr. Nehru sounded the tune. And this is a story which appeared in Hindustan Times, which is a Congress paper. I used to work for it. So these are not tabloids. These are all standard newspapers in India, which otherwise won't even touch these kind of things. So these are the horrendous things which are being said. An Indian ambassador met Netaji in Moscow. That India's ambassador who eventually became our president, Radhakrishnan, he actually saw Subhash Chandra Bose after his death in Russia. So this is, as I said, India's number one conspiracy theory. And option number two, that Subhash Chandra Bose did not die in a plane crash. He was actually alive. He was in Russia, where he was killed by Stalin in '53, and before that India swung to the Russian bloc because of this reason. The third angle, which has come up of little late, is something which nobody will believe in, is even considered his right senses. They say, no, Subhash Chandra Bose actually was alive in India. He was in the guise of a holy man. And there were some problems concerning Second World War, regarding his being declared a war criminal and so on and so forth. And because of these reasons, he couldn't surface. On the other hand, there are other people who make a claim that the Indian intelligence actually planted this entire story. Subhash, the real person, was captured by the Soviets, where he was killed. To make sure the Indians don't go after it, they planted a fake story in media, planted fake holy men, so that the whole issue is dumbed down. The whole issue becomes a mockery, at least in the eyes of people who are educated. And so to mislead people of the country, they actually planted and carried out this particular thing, that they planted the story of Subhash Chandra Bose alive in India, living in the guise of a holy man. So essentially, these three options are on table today. There is no fourth option. This much I can assure you. There have been many, many claims, but nothing stands to scrutiny. So what we have to do now, I'm sure the declassification process started, and in the next couple of years, I'm sure next maybe 1 or 2 years, things would be clarified. Let me just quickly go through the first angle. Not possible for me to go through the entire angle, but the plane crash story is plain and simple, that Subhash Chandra Bose, after the end of Second World War, when Japanese announced they were going to surrender, he said that I'm going to go to Tokyo. We have to discuss the surrender of the INA, whether to make a surrender individually, separately, or part of the Japanese army, with which they will be having an alignment. So Subhash Chandra Bose was then flying towards Tokyo. En route, there was an accident in now what is known as Taipei City, and he died in the plane crash. So this was a story which was given out in those, it was published even in America because it came from Japanese government, that Subhash Chandra Bose was going to Tokyo and he died in a plane crash. This was last picture of him taken in Saigon, 17th of this morning. When he landed in Saigon, this picture was taken. Thereafter, there was some problem. The plane had to be changed because he arrived in his own plane in Saigon in the morning. But towards the evening, Japanese said, no, you can't fly on your own plane. There's some problem. Americans had put embargo. So he was put in this particular bomber, and so that he could be, and he was flying with a general. And this plane landed in what was known in those days as Matsuama Aerodrome, and in Taipei City, today is now Taiwan Songshan Airport, domestic airport, where an accident happened around noon, in which Subhash Chandra Bose was badly injured because he caught fire. He was sitting under a gasoline tank. The tank burst, it fell over him all over. So while he was escaping from the plane, it caught fire. So you have all kind of details available in how the entire body turned carbonized, the skin, or everything got burned off. So he, in third-degree burns, he was taken to the hospital. Some Japanese, led by this man, Captain Yoshimi. He was alive until recently, and despite their best attempts, he died. This is supposedly the body of Subhash Chandra Bose. This is again a picture of him. He was committed. There was one Indian complice of his, Habibur Rahman, his EDC was with him. So this is a picture again taken in Taiwan in those days, and he died at his also told. And his ashes were taken to Japan and put in this temple, Rinpoche temple, where Japanese worship even till today. This is the recent picture of that place. Now, one thing I want to just because this is not a very lengthy presentation, there has been a thing in India. People tend to dismiss the whole thing as a conspiracy theory, and there is one way of putting it. People say, especially those who have aligned themselves with Congress Party, the ruling clique in India, that the whole idea of Subhash Chandra Bose actually escaping, not dying, is basically conspiracy theory. And somebody cooked it up, probably in Calcutta, just to malign Mr. Nehru. So this is the line which they take. But that's not accurate. In fact, Indians in 1945 were not capable of understanding these kind of things. I mean, it is akin to exposing somebody from India in those days to John Le Carey stuff, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. You try and explain how the modules function in CIA, how does CIA. I mean, Indians, what? People didn't have any clue. They couldn't even eat properly. In 1945, people couldn't understand the intelligence operations. This is how things are done. So the poor people, they did not know. They have been under foreign occupation for 1,000 years. So they couldn't understand all these things. It is beyond their thinking even to imagine somebody can actually plant a fake story of his death and escape somewhere else. The people who actually suspected something is wrong were the Americans and British. Indians were not capable of understanding. So this man was a ruler, Field Marshal Archibald Devil. He was India's ruler. He was a viceroy. When he heard about this news of Subhash Chandra Bose's death, he said, it is just what should be given out if he meant to murder one. Because if Subhash Bose had not died on the 18th of August 45, he would have been captured in 7 days' time by the British government in Singapore. He said, right at the time when he was supposed to be nabbed by us, enemy number one of the empire, suddenly he dies. There's something wrong. So you have to have an inquiry. So the inquiry was set up, and the first man who actually claimed that Subhash Chandra Bose was alive, the first plotting of Netaji being alive, was done by Alfred Walk, who was working for Chicago Tribune. He said, I saw this man alive in Saigon a couple of days after his death. Alfred Walk interrupted actually a press meet of Mr. Nehru on 13th of August 1945. I mean, we have reports from intelligence also, but this is a clipping I'm showing you from paper. So the man who should be blamed for everything is an American by the name of Alfred Walk. And Alfred Walk was the one who claimed that he saw Subhash Chandra Bose alive in Saigon a couple of days after his death. Thereafter, Mr. Nehru, because Alfred Walk met Mr. Gandhi, and Gandhi was also very resourceful. He had many connections, many linkages. In fact, now we have a document coming up from Princeton University about Gandhi's interacting about Subhash Chandra Bose's fate with Americans. Gandhi made public statement again and again, and he made it a world nationwide issue that he said Subhash Bose is alive, he's biding for his time, he's going to come back. And as a result of all this, there were inquiries conducted into Subhash Chandra Bose's death, started by the Americans and then the British question. The main inquiry was led by what is India's intelligence agency called IB, which is India's FBI. In those days, the IB was doing the job of both FBI as well as CIA. It is world's oldest spy agency. CIA was created in 1947. I mean, if you give me time, I will show to you in my presentation, things which we did, which will make you recall of the Watergate and whatnot. These things happened in India with much more finish than your country. So IB did an inquiry about Subhash Bose's death. They were, of course, British officers and Indian officers. They did not take much time to figure out there's something wrong. I showed you a body of Subhash Bose. You think that's a proof? You have somebody's face covered. How does it prove somebody is dead? You have no dead body. You don't have any documents. You have burned down every scrap of paper about this movement. It did not take them long to figure out there's something wrong about this case. This is, for example, an IP report by Mr. Finney. He was one of the officers. He was a long-standing expert on Subhash Chandra Bose, Mr. P.S. Finney. He filed this report in November 1945. Now, this again burst a myth in India that somebody planted this entire area of Subhash Chandra Bose being alive, especially in Russia, just to defame Mr. Nehru. No, I'm sorry. Day one, the intelligence organization had a clear-cut clue about it. Subhash could have been Russia because that is what he was planning to. Now, this, for example, is a declassified record. It talks about Mr. Watanabe, an interpreter, who was interrogated by Mr. Finney of the India's Intelligence Bureau, and this is what he said. All intelligence reports of the world, be it yours or ours, are written in simple English because these guys are not out to flaunt their language skills. They are not professors. So they weigh every word. So essentially all reports of intelligence, be it CIA or MI6 or Indian intelligence, are very clear cut. They weigh every word before the write. It's very simple word so that ministers can make out, they can understand the decision makers. On or about 17th of August. As I told you, the version given by Japanese was that this man was flying towards Tokyo to work out INS surrender, and then he was to have come back to Singapore. So en route to Tokyo, there was a plane crash. But here comes the truth. On about 17th of August, he was, Watanabe, the interpreter, was called to interpret a conversation between General Isoda. Isoda was the main Japanese in charge, aligning with Subhash Bose. He was the main man between the Japanese government and Subhash Bose's government. Isoda and Kako on one hand, and Subhash Bose, General Bhosle, who was the chief of staff of Subhash Bose, and Lieutenant Colonel Habibur Rahman. They were on the other side. They were discussing. This took place in General Isoda's house. When Watanabe reached there, conversation was over. They were discussing how to get Mr. Bose to his destination. It was generally understood that he was to get the Russians probably to Manchuria. So it comes through very clearly in documents that once before the war came to an effect, when he was in Germany in 41, Subhash was told, when Germans came out and told people in India, when Germany attacked Russia, Subhash Bose's plan was to, unfortunately America was never on Subhash Bose's side. America towed the lines of the British on this issue. Subhash tried, but they wouldn't listen. I think it was only towards the end that Roosevelt tried to influence a port, Churchill, but Churchill wouldn't budge, and he has made all kind of racist comments about India. Hitler did not make, but Churchill has made racist comments about us. The Hindus, we should bomb them, should be killed, and he is responsible for killing of 1 million people in this country. So we are concerned about my own people first, not what happened to the support world. So this man, so he opened a channel Russian even in 41. He escaped from India with Russian help, and this is how it started. And then the documents, one after the other, Subhash Bose had foreseen the end of Second World War, and there are reports which are clearly saying from the British side that Subhash Bose is telling his own people that the friendship that the Americans and the Russians have in Second World War is temporary. It will go off the moment the war comes to a close, and the war is going to end, and the Axis are going to lose the war. In fact, he knew from the day when he arrived in Japan, he's going to lose the war. He was just waging a psychological warfare. He thought that if he does it, people in the country who didn't have the courage to stand up to the British probably will stand up, and which happened actually. India's becoming free has very little to do with Gandhi, which is a great myth. It's because you have this myth because it gives the British honorable exit. It is something which shows British in very good light. They were in good light. My family, so I'm not saying everybody who was working in India was a bad guy. They were very nice guys. There are hundreds of good things about British rule in the country. But the fact of the matter is, they leaving, quitting India has to do with one simple fact. Because India was controlled by them using the Indian army. It's only the Indians who were using against enemies. So Subhash Chandra Bose turned that Indian army against these people. So there were 3 war crime trials happened in 45. One was of course Nuremberg, everybody was hanged. There were Japanese war crimes trial, everybody was hanged. You had Delhi war crimes, Red Fort. Not a single person was hanged because people came on the street because Subhash Chandra Bose, men and women were put on trial. And people said, you hang one of them, we will kill everybody, every British soldier and family in this country. They were intelligent. Clement Attlee was pro-India, so you have to give him a little bit of his due that they were having a soft corner in the Labour Party. He said, look, we need to go. So that kind of documentation also has become available. So India is becoming free in 1947. 2 biggest factors: Second World War, and second is because of Subhash Bose, there was a revolt in the Indian army, near revolt, and that's why they left. Unfortunately, people who acquired the power after 47 were all followers of Mahatma Gandhi. So they have, in the last 40-50 years, they have given this false narrative to our country. And despite their 50 years of mass propaganda, they have failed. Go to Facebook, this is the Facebook era. Please go to the Facebook and see the narrative which is coming on. Every second, third person talking about Subhash Bose. Nobody, in fact, Gandhiji gets so much of criticism on. It's only you go to university, people talk so many things, but it's irrelevant. When it comes to national media, it comes to social media, it comes to Facebook, Twitter, people are not going to buy all this thing which are being taught in school and colleges. So this whole thing started, and we have been, so it became very clear. Let me just take you to some 1 or 2 documents. For example, this is the result of the American inquiry, because Americans were first to do an inquiry about Subhash Bose, and this is so true. This is 20th June 1946, almost a year after Subhash Chandra Bose's death. Question was put by British intelligence to the Americans: you must have done some inquiry, you must know something about this man's death, so please tell us what is there. So this is the answer from, because it came through Pentagon. A search of the files in the intelligence divisions reveals that there was no direct evidence that Subhash Chandra Bose was killed in a plane crash. No dead body, no photograph, only there was some verbal accounts that he was killed. And then these people who were making a claim that Subhash Chandra Bose died when they were interrogated, there were all kind of contradictions in their accounts. So people say different things in different parts of time. So this is essentially which has come true now also because now we know. So this is how the whole thing developed, and I'm sorry at this stage I have to stop, I was late. So the three theories stand in front of you. The plane crash theory, nobody in India believes. There have been 3 inquiries about Subhash Chandra Bose's death under public pressure. We're not to talk about what happened in the intelligence division. The first 2 inquiries were set up when Congress party was in power. So there's a lot of political thing involved. It is not like your country, it's not impartial. It's not bipartisan thing. You have your own man sitting in government committee and you decide whatever they decide. So first 2 committee were not very clear. They were, of course, loaded in favor of the Congress party. They said this man died in a plane crash. In 1999, there was a High Court ruling. People took the case to the High Court and they decided that there has to be an inquiry. An inquiry was set up under the lead of a former Supreme Court of India Judge, Justice M.K. Mukherjee. He did his inquiry for 5 years. He considered all papers in America. He talked to Indians. He spoke to Japanese, everybody, and he gave a verdict in 2005 that there was no plane crash. There was never a plane crash in Taiwan. Taiwan government has confirmed that thing, and this man was planning to escape to Russia. He went towards Russia. Whether or not he landed there, I can't tell you because I was not given access to the Russian intelligence files. Now, because you need to find what happened to him, you have to access the KGB. Now, there's another story about Raoul Wallenberg. I wonder if you've heard his name. He is an honorary American citizen. There are only 2 honorary American citizens. One is Wallenberg, the other one is Churchill. So this is also very much like Wallenberg case. So Russia, you can't get information because it's a closed country. It's not open country like mine is yours. So, but this thing that he did not die and he was possibly in Russia and the Indian aspect that he was a holy man, now these things are now open. The government, of course, in those days in 2005 rejected this report without assigning a reason, but people of the country haven't bought. Now we have reached such a stage, for the first time in history, the government of India is interested. The Prime Minister has started the process of declassification, and I'm expecting by the time next year, probably I'll see you here, we would have resolved this case in one way or the other. And even if the case is resolved after this entire process of declassification, after all what we have written, what all we have been claiming, assuming for argument's sake it comes out that Subhash Chandra Bose did die in a plane crash, there's nothing more to it, all our conspiracy theories, still the credit will go to people like me who asked for declassification in the first place. Because please make sure, declassification was not demanded by people like Subhash Bose, he actually opposed it publicly. And I mean, I have given examples in my book. I mean, the kind of things which are teaching to American students is he's actually supporting the emergency in India, so to speak, indirectly. Because people in this country do not know what happened to us in the emergency era, actually, in this country, our country. So, not one of the people in professors or academics and academia, they did not support the demand for declassification. They talk big things when they're in America, but when they go to India, they all talk in favor of the Gandhi family, most of them. So the change we have brought on, so in case there's a settlement in next year, the issue is closed firmly, even if it is on the side of the official version that this man died in a plane crash in Taiwan, that is actually theory. Still, it will be because of us, people like me, and in a way it would be due to the inspiration that we got, at least I personally got by seeing that movie of Oliver Stone. So in a sense, because I remember, one of my first posts on Facebook was an American solution to Subhash Chandra Bose's mystery. So I'm very delighted to have, in a nutshell, given the outline of the entire case. So thank you very much for your time and patience. So I'm sorry the time is late.
Questions for Anuj? We have about 10 minutes.
I had to hurry up. My presentation lasts for 3 hours. I'll take you through each and everything. And there's a lot of American in it.
Has anybody asked for DNA analysis of the ashes?
Give me time. Justice Mukherjee trial is very level-based. This is Justice Mukherjee. Nonsense. Subhash Bose writes about his personal life. You should know his brothers are sitting in very high places in different countries. Now, Justice Mukherjee was the best person. Actually, he tried. The Subhash Bose's so-called remains in Japan, which are worshipped in a Buddhist temple. So they were opened up. Can we have the right shot? Because these are the so-called bones of Subhash Bose. So you can see skull and jawbone very clearly. So Justice Mukherjee had the casket opened, and he had it, gone through some experts in India, America, Japan, elsewhere. So the Japanese, apart from one Indian expert who was a shady guy, leave him aside. All the experts, not one Indian, Lalji Singh was right. The other Indian guy who has some role to play, he was shady. Otherwise, Lalji Singh was real. Every expert, Japanese, British, American, say the one thing, these bones have been charred beyond recognition. Probably the body was burned for 8 hours in a furnace. Chances of a DNA test, finding any DNA would be impossible. But Terry Milton, an expert in your country, Terry Milton gave a view that there's a possibility. I can still nevertheless try mitochondrial DNA testing. Of course, we have the mitochondria because Subhash's sister side people are available, and they're all available. He said, I can try, nevertheless, chances are dim. I can try a mitochondrial DNA. First, you do an anthropological test on these remains. An anthropological test will tell you whether these are human remains or some animal. These are human remains. But they will tell you something more. It's a man, a woman. It's an Asian, South Asian. What is the vintage of the remains, so forth. When this was conveyed to Government of India, these ashes are in Japan, but in our custody. Indian government took possession of these ashes in 1951-52. And only the physical custody is of Japanese temple, and we pay them some money for it. So these ashes are technically in our custody. Indian embassy is in charge of these ashes. When Justice Mukherjee conveyed this idea to the Government of India, Mr. Milton has agreed to do a test, provided you do an anthropological test first and give him a report. They develop cold feet. So in one word, it has not happened because of Government of India. Now, for example, there's a record which has come out. Now, this, for example, like in Europe, this is a declassified file. Now, of these 300, 400 files which have come out, I think there are 100 files whose very title is about Subhash Chandra Bose's ashes in Japan. And where you find right from J. Dixit in the 1950s down to our times, every top Indian bureaucrat who's maybe studying in America or living as a green card holder, everybody is writing about, these are Netaji's remains, these are Netaji's ashes, they should be brought back to India. So every file is talking about these things being Subhash Chandra Bose's remains. But when they are asked to DNA test, this is what they write in government file. If the result is in the positive, then the entire issue will be resolved. In case the result comes in negative as to the DNA test result does not tally with the biological samples connected to the relative, one can imagine the reaction of the nation. Well, what are you afraid of? I mean, 50 years we've been saying these are Subhash Bose's remains, and you asked to do a DNA test. He said, what will happen in case it's negative? So you can make out a lot of, and there is something very awkward, that this is Subhash Bose's daughter. And she's just a German. Now she's asked, she said, I'm convinced this man died in a plane crash. I've been asking for so many years that my father's remains should be brought back to India. Religious rites should be performed. And people, because of sentiment reason, everybody is taking that line. Nobody's asking what was her mother's stand on this case. She was alive until 1996. Now, what happens now, DNA, she's publicly asking for a DNA test. And this is an interview of hers recently with India Today. In fact, she said very clearly that you can present any amount of proof to certain people, but they will not believe it. She herself is asked about DNA test of the Subhash Chandra Bose's remains, and this is what she answers. I feel they should be tested for DNA test. Of course, if they are not his remains, it still does not prove that the Priyanka should not happen. No matter what happens, you will still support the Priyanka story because I don't know what you have done. But this is the declassified file in which you see she is making a clear-cut statement to the Government of India, there should be no DNA testing. Because what the people of the country do not know, that her mother till her death in 1996, and Shankar never believed that Subhash Chandra Bose died in Ukraine because she believed that he was in Russia. She received information from Minnesota that he was in Russia. In fact, our current president, Pranab Mukherjee, went and saw her in 1995 when he was India's foreign minister. He placed before her some kind of a paper, you sign on this, I will bring Subhash Bose's ashes to India and I will become famous man, and she asked him to get lost. There's a lot of political dimension to it. So on one hand, you're publicly saying you should do a DNA test on my father's remains, but in private, you don't want those tests to happen. So this is what I have discussed. This is most undaughterly manner she has behaved. Tried so many times, madam, please, you should be demanding the classifications. Your father, you're a professor of atomics. She knows. She is more Indian. Of course, she spoke to me like an Indian lady, not like an American or Western European. She understands all these things, small little things. He didn't support us. What kind of a daughter you are? You're not supporting the basic things as a declassification. So,
sir, I have a question. This is contrary to the point number 3 mentioned in the Pandit Nehru's letter. In the Pandit Nehru's letter, he mentioned family members are not interested in ashes, blah blah blah, all these things. So, on the other hand, this shows that the daughter is.
The daughter became active only after her mother's death in 96. Till her mother was alive, till her uncles were alive, everybody was gone and saying that Netaji has died. Sorry, he did not die, he was alive. But after 1993-94, some people like Shobhata Bose, who was very close to, because she's Shobhata Bose's father, Dr. Shishir Kumar Bose, was like a father figure to her. She was very close to her cousin. That's the only family she has in India. Others also, but she was very close. It is only after the death of Subhash Bose's wife that these people have become very active. Now you probably will read something about Ashish Ray. who's in London and he's been spreading stories. Ashish is a Congress party man. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm being very crude to you. He is a Congress party man. So there's a problem. We have to get the politics out of it. It's not simple, because the problem with the people who write about Subhash Bose, I've seen Professor Gordon's work. Gordon is a friend of Shokata Bose. I mean, fantastic book, still the best book I've seen. But when it comes to death, you have very stereotype. You are looking at India from the days of the British. Like things have moved on. How can you discount? I give example. I went to the Maryland National Archive. I saw the CIA declassified records. Even 1980s we're talking about.